were this golf cart really this fast, we could glaze your eyes with twice as much coverage at AirVenture. But you know, it's a brand new golf cart and it's got an anti-tamper governor, so we're going to have to do our annual golf cart preview of AirVenture at normal speed. I'm Paul Bertorelli. This is Marc Cook of AVweb and Kit Planes. First time he's been here in a while, but he's going to dazzle you with his knowledge of AirVenture. 2019 is a year of anniversaries, specifically 50th anniversaries. There are 3 of them. This is the 50th anniversary of EAA being at Whitman Field in Oshkosh. If you're a student of EAA history, you know that before that they were at Rockford in Illinois, but they moved here for the first year in 1970. It is the 50th anniversary of the Boeing 747. If you know your airplane history, that was a seminal airplane that basically revolutionized airline travel and allowed freckled neck Bulgarians like me to fly across the Atlantic for $200, and I did that in 1972. Anyway, they're going to have a couple of 747s here, one from United, we think, and definitely one from UPS. The one from UPS, never been in service, so if you're interested in that new airplane smell, here's your chance to do it, because they'll be showing it at Boeing Plaza for a couple of days at least. Last 50th anniversary, unless you've been living under a rock for the last couple weeks, you know that it's the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 11 lunar landing, and in commemoration of that, Michael Collins, who's the command module pilot, will be here. On Friday night, they're going to do a presentation at Theater in the Woods. Those presentations are always good. If you can't be here at all, they're going to live stream it, so that'll be worth watching. Now, if you know about EAA, you know that the E is for experimental, and that's what Marc is all about. So take it away, Marc. What are you going to be looking at here?
Thanks, Paul. We got some really interesting things to look at here for the show. I'm really excited to be back. It's been a few years, and I have to say the vibe is really, really strong. So one of the airplanes we're going to look at is our own Paul Dye's Subsonics. Now, if you're not familiar with that airplane, it's a very small, literally a personal jet, single-seat jet. Doesn't have a ton of fuel, so it doesn't have a ton of endurance. So I'm going to be talking to him about his trip out from the Reno area here to Oshkosh. Lots of takeoffs, lots of landings, and Paul, being ex-NASA, of course, thinks about every technical aspect of that, and his planning is nothing short of meticulous, which it kind of needs to be in an airplane like that. So we'll have a fun chat with him later on. The other interesting airplane I'm really curious to see, I've been following it virtually, but I want to see it here, and that's an airplane that was actually never produced. It was an RV-5. Now, I think Dick Van Groesven kind of gets a bit of a bad rap for feeling like a lot of his designs are just replicating the same idea over and over again. So it's interesting that the RV-5 is a single-seat, kind of a mid-wing, Rotax-powered airplane that he flew and eventually decided not to produce as a kit. But it does tell you that, you know, he was at least playing off in the edges, if not, you know, doing radical changes to the designs, at least playing with some different variations. And if there's anybody who likes to play with a lot of variations, that's Bert Rutan. So the EAA is going to be doing a bit of a special thank you to Bert for all of the work that he's done. He's certainly caused a lot of home builders to think about airplanes differently, and there's a lot of airplanes out there we would not have without his work. Airplanes that he designed, of course, are the Very Easy, the Long Easy, the Catbird, the Defiant, little airplane called the Voyager that actually had a fair bit of endurance, and of course Spaceship One. So he's going to be talking on Thursday at the Theater of the Woods. That ought to be a very interesting talk. So I'm definitely going to pop in for that. He's a good speaker.
Yeah, and as part of the experimental realm, electric airplanes here in the Innovation Center, we're going to see an airplane that debuted here last year called the Black Fly, and it's a multi-rotor. It's ultimately, we think, is going to be produced and sold as a ready-to-fly ultralight. So they've had a year now of developmental work on it, so we want to take a look at that. They do have a simulator here for that, and there's another company called Lift that also has a simulator for some kind of a multi-rotor airplane. I'm not quite sure what. But we'll get over to the Innovation Center. We see a lot of interesting things there, and for many years, AirVenture has been the venue for introducing new stuff. Not all of it succeeds, but it's always interesting to look at. Every year there are changes here on the grounds, and one of them is up in Hangar D. Mark, you're going to take a look at that?
I am. It's kind of interesting. They brought together it's called the International Federal Pavilion, and they brought together an opportunity for all the international aviation agencies to come together and talk about the things they're doing, the technologies in their home fields, regulatory issues and things like that. I mean, you got to admit it's a global world, and you know, if you're a manufacturer, you have to be prepared to work across any borders, and it's a great way to collaborate. Now, as part of that, Oshkosh has actually moved, EAA has moved a lot of things around. The home builds used to be kind of in among all of the other airplanes, have a Cirrus and a Sportsman next to each other. They've moved all of the home build stuff off to kind of the North 40, which really works nicely. It gathers all the home builds together, all the sort of the birds of a feather are there. It makes looking at that, if that's your area of interest, a little bit more efficient, a lot more fun. So I kind of like it. I thought I wasn't going to like having all that stuff quarantined off, but I think it's working pretty well.
You know, riding through Boeing Plaza today, we're filming this on Sunday, the day before the show opens. It's kind of sparse, but by Monday we expect to see a lot of interesting airplanes. I already mentioned the 747s. There'll be one or two of those. The B-29 dock will be here, so if you want to go to get a look at that, you can. And they're actually up in Appleton offering rides in it. There will be a KC-46, and that will be on display for at least a couple of days. The 46 is based on the 767, it's a new tanker. And also this year is kind of following up last year's Year of the Bomber. They're doing Year of the Fighter this year, so we're expecting to see an F-22, an F-35, and a couple of A-10s at least, and they're going to do simulated ground attacks, so that ought to be pretty cool. It'd be nice to see them actually fire the guns, but that's kind of a little bit over the top, even for Oshkosh.
For us, yeah.
So anyway, that's pretty much it. We've covered everything. Well, not exactly.
No.
We haven't even scratched the surface. So we'll be covering the show throughout the week, and we'll have lots of video and news briefs, and we'll let you know what's going on. I'm Paul Bertorelli.
I'm Marc Cook.
Thanks for watching. Hey everyone, before you go to Oshkosh, you ought to check out AVweb.com. Lucia and Monica do.